We are here at the Dhaka Global Dialogue, and this session is about integrating the South Asian region. What are the challenges that lie ahead? What are the opportunities? And whether integration, which we have been talking about for a long time now, it is really feasible in the sense of a political integration, economic integration, and the limits of that integration. I have with me Major General AKM Abdul Rahman, NDC PSC. He is the Director General of the Bangladesh Institute of International and Strategic Studies. They are the partnering organization with ORF for this wonderful global dialogue that we have had in Dhaka. And I have with me Pavel Luzin. He is an expert and columnist at The Riddle. The Riddle is a digital think tank. They are futurist in that sense. Major General, how do you look at this question of integrating the South Asian region? What are the limits and what are the challenges?
Thank you for asking this question. I think I would just start with a very sad comment, in a sense that this part of the world, we had a long dream of, connecting this South Asia for the common benefits of the people and all the countries. But unfortunately, after the creation of the SARC, which somehow or other did not really move on, and I'm sure many of us we know that perhaps there are difficulties in making everybody or taking everybody on board. So we were a little, upset. We means not me. I think we mean the people of the South Asian region. So it did not really work well. I don't say that it has gone to the life support, but definitely it's not working as it was expected. So, we had to find out some other alternatives. And alternatives now that we are seeing some kind of hope, which is working better than the SARC, is the beamstick. I think it is moving much faster, and I think this is going to be one of the last hope for us. In a sense that I often say that this part of the world was always connected, unlike the many parts of the world where people had been fighting for hundreds of years, including First World War, Second World War. But this part of the world was always united. But somehow or other, we could not reap the benefit of our cultural, you know, history, our togetherness, and the existing, bondage that we have. So I think uh, integration of the South Asia for the common benefits of the people and all the South Asian country, and of course beyond the South Asian extra-regional countries, are very, very important, I think.
Pavel, you were telling me that one of the ways of integrating the region is to look for common threads. Now, all our leaders, at least the leaders of India, Bangladesh, Nepal, they have often said that the common thread that we have, or the common problem which we have, is that of poverty. So, beyond that, what do we look at?
So yes, any efforts towards integration needs on essential drivers. It's common ideas and for sure common threats. The common threat in such a thickly peopled region like South Asia, yes, it is firstly it is poverty, but in strategic prospect. We should speak that poverty radicalization can lead us to the fragmented region. And this fragmentation will fragilize the nations of the region. And in case of some worst scenarios, we may see that some state or non-state actor may damage the region, may damage the sustainable development, may damage the fight against poverty in the region may damage all the efforts. So, for example, nuclear power plants that my country, Russia, supplies for Bangladesh and for India. That is not only about energy, but also about risks that can be created to the region in case of conflict. Because for development, we need infrastructure. We need very sophisticated infrastructure, from agriculture till power plants till satellites that Bangladesh currently
So basically, what
creates.
you are
Yeah.
suggesting is a wider sharing of knowledge, information, technology within the region.
Within the region and with powers from outside the region. I mean, for example, my country, Russia, the United States, some countries in the Middle East, European countries for sure. Yes.
Major General, one of the other common threats that we face is that of radicalism, uh, which is, it's also referred to as violent extremism. Uh, Bangladesh has been a victim of it. India definitely has been a victim of it. Recently, we saw Sri Lanka facing a similar problem. And yet, there seems to be an absence of a very palpable, upfront, shared or common approach towards dealing with it.
Yeah, you're right. Unfortunately, if we talk about the terrorism global index, out of the 25 country that has been placed at the top, there are as many as 5 countries of the South Asia are within the top 25. So this is a very unfortunate story. And Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, India, all are, the subject of severe, terrorism activities. But I will differ a little bit in a sense that it is not that the all the countries are not, effectively working out a, effective mechanism.
I was talking of a joint strategy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But if you talk about the region itself, well, still we are yet to, reach to that. But if you talk about the, joint effort by India and Bangladesh within the framework of BIMSTEC, I think these are the only 2 countries which has made a very, very significant and meaningful, cooperation. So rest of the countries, like we have a protocol which has not yet been signed by other members. So I think if and Bangladesh and India have very successfully.
So we need to scale it up from bilateral to multilateral
Right.
within the region. Pavel, when we talk of integrating, somehow nobody talks of an economic integration similar on the lines of EU. Why not think in terms of a common currency, in terms of a common taxation system? What works against it?
So I think the example of the European Union is not universal. It's very specific for Europe. Towards South Asia, I think the first steps that should be done is the steps towards sharing the best practices in modernization, in technology transfer, in urbanization, because fast urbanization of the region creates contradictions, creates some radicals for sure. And firstly, here in South Asia, we should create a common space of development, the common space where and prosper space where the radicalism will be impossible, or at least will decrease its base.
No, well, it's a global thing, and I don't think we can be totally immune from it. Uh, Coming back to where we started, when SARC was formed, the medium to long term goals were integrating the region in a manner that you had free movement of services, free movement of people, free movement of goods. What happened? What went wrong?
I think the story is known by everybody that perhaps, you know, there are member states. Let me not be very, very specific, but there are member states within the, umbrella of SARC, which does not really trust about the organization itself. So when you have something like this, that a member state, significant member state, which does not really trust on the cooperation itself, then perhaps the
So
mechanism will not really
we
work.
can have SARC -1.
Well, that will not be a good idea because SARC -1 will take the concept totally away. So let the SARC remain where it is. I think out of the SARC we can talk within the SARC also. If you talk about SARC -1, instead of saying that, let's make sub-regional arrangement like we have the BBIN, for example, within the SARC, but it is making BBIN, and I think it's making quite significant development. And let the SARC remain, but find out some alternative. But erasing or taking out a member, saying is a minus, that will not be a good idea because this has been done with some objective right at the beginning, and I think we should keep trying to take the minus on board, and hopefully someday it works, until and unless we can find out some other alternatives, but not having a -1.
Rahul, your views on this?
So, any organizations, I mean, any efforts towards institutionalizing of cooperation, firstly needs some material base for this. So, I mean, we have, or South Asia has to concentrate mostly in economic development, and after that, when some more success will be achieved, so after that South Asia can create some new institutions, some new international organizations, or maybe to go deeper into integration efforts, maybe not common currency, but maybe towards liberalization of trade routes, visa-free regime, for example, and so on and so on.
Visa free, is it possible in our lifetime?
In our lifetime, I will not be. I'm a very, very optimistic person. Even in the last couple of days, also before I raised this issue, I think I am very, very optimistic. In this regard, we have a lot of progress. I think we can at least achieve this particular issue within the South Asian integration system. I am optimistic, but I don't say about within our lifetime. It's very, very difficult to predict. But let's hope it happens during our lifetime.
One minute each. How do we move forward? Your thoughts, 1 minute each.
So, to move forward, we have to concentrate on modernization, on development, on common security in the region.
We have not been successful in showing the entire region some tangible output because of certain reason. But now it's time for us. Let's do something by which we can create a confidence in the people, and confidence within the people will be incorporated into the political decision. And for that, we need a thorough study instead of going, as and when it is required on a need to, on a requirement basis. Let's have a wholesome study, in-depth study, find out what are the important areas of, common interest, and then let's work on it and integrate the entire region. I think we in the past have failed, but let's not fail this time. This is a globalized world, and we have no choice but to integrate the South Asia for our common benefits.
Thank you, Major General. Thank you, Pavel. It was a interesting discussion, and I think one of the purposes of the Dhaka Global Dialogue is to initiate these conversations, especially within the region, and look and how it can possibly be further integrated into a common goods system. Thank you once again.
Thank you.